Dancers Group is experimenting with new ways to unify, strengthen, and amplify voices in the Bay Area. We're excited to share a variety of ideas and stories. Join us today as we hear from Melecio Estrella, director, choreographer, educator, and facilitator based in unceded Ohlone territory. He is the artistic director of Bandaloop, co-director of Fog Beast, and longtime member of the Joe Good Performance Group. Welcome back to In Conversation. Today we're here with Melecio Estrella. Welcome to In Conversation. We're so excited to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Let's jump right in, shall we? Please tell our listeners about your background and how you began your dance journey.
Wow, my background. How far back do you want me to go?
Whenever dance came to you or you came on over to it.
Well, I was a really flamboyant living room dancer as a small child. I just danced all over the house. And that was kind of my thing. I would actually move furniture out of the way, push the coffee table away and create space for myself. That was before I started gymnastics. And then I forced my parents to put me into gymnastics, which was difficult because it's actually a really expensive sport. And it wasn't something that, my family really had a lot of money for. So actually my mom had a job just so she could put me and my sister, another job so that she could put me and my sister through gymnastics, which was so gracious of her. I was obsessed with gymnastics when I was a kid. I had an acrobatic spirit, and then I competed. And by the time I got to be about 16 years old, I started to rebel. I started to feel like I didn't fit in that sort of movement training, in that sort of ballistic relationship with the body, and also the high bodily risk stopped really being my thing. And I kind of wanted to free up from that. So it was around that time in the late 90s that I also discovered or was brought into rave culture, actually, like dancing all night to rhythmic music, and also festivals. And I was surrounded by people who were really committed to movement in a really different way, right? Trancing out, and so on those dance floors, I was introduced to people who were really committed to dance. And some of those people were doing capoeira. Some of those people were doing contact improv. And then I saw contact improv. I was like, what is that? And kind of followed that fascination. Started taking contact classes at the good old Saturday contact class at ODC, if people remember that. And also 848 Community Space, if people remember that. And actually Dancers Group. And I would take the bus. It was like a 3-hour bus ride from Sonoma County, where I lived and where I grew up, to San Francisco, to where at that time Dancers Group was at 22nd and Mission. This is the late 90s, early 2000s. And some of my first official contact workshops were there with Kathleen Hermsdorf and Brenton Chang, and Dancers Group had this really vibrant workshop series. I remember that introduced me to the form. From there, I started meeting dancers who had grown up doing technique and contemporary dance, or maybe had gone to conservatory. And I started dancing with Scott Wells, who is incredible, for bringing me in as a contact dancer and kind of introducing me to performance and improvisation in performance. And after that, I started dancing for Bandaloop, and then I started dancing for Joe Good. And then for the last 18 years, I've been kind of riding that wave.
I love that. Thank you so much for giving a little history there and delving into a little bit of our Dancers Group history. For those who did not know, yes, we used to have a studio back in the day.
Yeah. Dancers Group has just been such and Wayne, and everyone, Michelle, who's worked at Keegan, all these people in the history of your organization have really been key to so many of us, being able to dance, really creating space, creating the conditions for dance to happen. And I'm just so thankful for Dancers Group.
And so the people want to know about the beast, Fog Beast. What is it? Where is it? How did you guys come to that name?
Yeah. Andrew Ward and myself were dancing with Joe Good, and we were on tour a lot. And on our spare time on tour, we would just find some empty studio space. It's like we hadn't had enough dance, but we were really interested in just exploring creativity together. So we started to make dances and songs and just create a really playful atmosphere in the studio on our off time when we were on tour. And out of that grew some duets. And then we started committing more to that practice together and kind of finding our voice together. And we're like, what would we call this? And both of us grew up in the Bay. Both of us have an affinity for fog. And fog being this thing that can obscure and reveal and can condense and then disappear. And then the beast being us, our bodies. And it's so funny, like it came at a time when beast and beast mode was like becoming a trendy hashtaggy word, but we're like super gentle. We're like gentle beasts. And so that happened 10 years ago, the
Oh,
inception.
wow.
Yeah. We've been going for 10 years. And I'm not really shy about saying that it's in a definite lineage of our work with Joe, meaning we're really excited about using the voice, using story and song, all rooted in sort of our practice of exploring physicality and the body.
So, do the two of you write the songs together, or is it more you and he's more movement? What's the.
We all write together. It's like a big, messy workshop. And we work with Ben Udvalkis, the amazing composer who works with a lot of dance artists around the Bay. Ben has been a key collaborator with Fog Beast since the beginning, and also Damara Ganley and Patricia West and all our dear friends. We just get together and make stuff. Yeah.
How did the core group come together? Some of the folks you just named, and then the folks who were in the latest performance over at Asian Art Museum a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's a mix. Damara and Patricia are like our dance family. Damara and I worked together in Joe's work and in Bandaloop for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's also folks who we meet along the way, and we're really interested in working with. We're not really the kind of company that has auditions, though we may in the future. But it's more about who we meet in the community and who we're sort of magnetized to.
Mm-hmm.
And also who kind of has similar interests around voice and song and movement. Yeah.
Mm. And as far as the movement quality, from what I've seen, it's a lot of contemporary and a slight jazzish. Are you influenced by any other styles?
The styles that come in we invite our collaborators to bring the fullness of their lineages, whether it be contemporary, there's hula in there, there's of course acrobatic backgrounds, sports. So I think there's all those influences, but it's really, our strong background is contemporary and kind of contact based, momentum based, somatic work.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's wonderful to be able to connect and sync with people in the community that just kind of find you and get you. Because what I've seen from you guys was really wonderful collaborative work.
Yeah, and that's where it's at for us. We're really not that great at telling people what to do. I mean, we can hold it down and facilitate a group process, and also, create or make choices and decisions to move the work forward as directors. And we do create choreography and share it, but I think we create an atmosphere where all the collaborators are doing that, creating material and sharing. Yeah, so it is. it is a collaboration. It feels like every process, every show we make feels new, like we're discovering how to make dance again.
Mm,
And yeah.
I love that. Discovering how to make dance again. So, right now, we're going to take a quick break. Thank you all for tuning into this audio experience. To listen to previous In Conversations with our dynamic dance community, visit our In Dance article archive at dancersgroup.org. We are back with Melecio Estrella, Bay Area dance leader and innovator. Melecio, you've been in the community for an established time. What's a quote or guiding point that has stayed with you over the years?
Oh wow. Well, Joe Good. Well, I've had the privilege of learning from him and teaching alongside him for the last 18 years. And one thing that he tells students is, instead of thinking about making a company or, this ambitious sort of arts organization thing, he's just like, make 5 minutes of material that you absolutely love. And to me, that kind of rings true as far as, have an artistic practice that where the work is at the core. It's really easy, I think, in our field to get pulled into, you know, other aspects of creating an arts organization, and we need to that support the making of the work, but really having a focus on making 5 minutes of dance that I love just really helps remind me why I'm doing it, because there's the grant writing, there's the, fostering a group, facilitating a group, there's all the thing, connecting to community, finding a venue, all of the things that we do, and so many of my colleagues are just brilliant at creating conditions for art making to happen. But just being reminded to live in the heart of the work, which is the making and the crafting and the movement and the feeling. That seems simple, but it's really key for me.
Absolutely. So we're going to switch gears and we would love for you to talk to us about Bandaloop and how you came to lead the company.
Oh, I'm so thankful for Bandaloop. Speaking of having an acrobatic spirit since I could remember, I was like that 4-year-old doing cartwheels. It's been dreamy. I joined the company in 2002. I auditioned in 2002, so I'm coming on 20 years of being with Bandaloop, which is amazing. Coming into the company, with Bay Area legends, I call them legends, but they're also just dear friends. Like Suzanne Gallo, Kimmy Ward, Heather Bear, Rachel Lincoln. Um, this these people that were in the company at that time. And I was a pretty young dancer, relatively young dancer. I just learned so much from being around these dancers and working with them. Eventually, in 2010, I became education director. Like many of our colleagues, I've been a teaching artist the whole time, and I love teaching. And then around 2017, I became associate artistic director, and Amelia, the founder, artistic director, started to, pursue other interests and took a sabbatical. And that 2017 happened to be the busiest year in the company's history. So when I took on, when she left for sabbatical and I took over directing, it got really intense really fast. And then we decided to make the move. So it was very organic that by 2020, Amelia was ready to officially step away from artistic director, and I was ready to take it on. And then the pandemic hit. So right after I fully assumed the position of artistic director, the shutdown started to happen. Which, the silver lining of that is, Bandloop is a 30-year-old dance organization,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a new chapter. I'm only the second artistic director, and after Amelia. And so to have the pandemic just stop us and then have a restart
Mm.
felt really supportive, actually, to me stepping into this role um, in a clean way. Yeah.
I think that's happened for a few people or a few artist led groups where the pandemic has actually allowed them time to take a pause and reassess, revisit, bring some new energy, some new life
Yeah.
to what they're doing, either as a company, performance wise, or what they're bringing to education or other ways of reaching community. So, what you said about like coming into this time when it's still like fresh and being able to transform it and have it be your own. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And Banaloop, we use rock climbing gear to dance on vertical surfaces, and it started in the mountains, and we're performing mostly outside on buildings. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just, I grew up around a lot of nature and a lot of actually environmental activism up in Northern California. And so the element of being in nature and being in the elements and dealing with sort of the unknowns and the unexpecteds of weather and architecture uh, really give me a lot of artistic vitality to meet the world in that way through the work. And I think that's why I've stayed with Bandaloop for 20 years. And we're still learning. It's a learning organization, even though we've been around for a long time and have a vocabulary. Like every new collaborator that comes brings their own dance lineage to the harness and to the wall, and the work grows. And I'm really excited about nurturing that forward.
Yes. And you say you guys are out in nature, like not just on buildings, but out in nature, flying through the air with the greatest of ease. What's been your most exciting moment for you personally so far with Bandaloop?
Hmm. There's so many. So it's hard to say the most exciting moment. Right now, we're about to have a home season in April in downtown Oakland, and April 15th and 16th. And we're showing some work that it's my first kind of major work that I've made as artistic director that we've made.
Yay.
And it's called Loom. And it's in honor of our ancestors and those who make fabric, have made fabric, and sort of the soothing rhythms of things like knitting, crocheting, weaving. And it also looks at the ecological impacts of modern industrial fabric production, which is
Ooh.
devastating. And it also locates Bandaloop and Bandaloop's rope craft in a lineage of textiles, right? We dance on these woven climbing ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's all these connections around thread and weaving and how we weave community. And the idea and the inception of the work came from learning about my own grandmother who crocheted fabric while she was interned in a concentration camp during World War II in the Philippines. And she was eventually executed. But she would while she was in prison, she would crochet these fabrics. And because she couldn't get more thread,
Mm-hmm.
when she finished them, she would unravel and start again.
Mm.
So it truly wasn't about making a thing, making a product, but it was about being in the process of making. And so that story really resonated and connected to all these things around fabric and my own fiber practice. I'm a pretty committed knitter. Um, and the
Yeah.
dancing, and the movement and the dancing and the rhythm and repetition. And so that actually this current season, I would say is the most exhilarating, frightening, and exciting moment for me in Bandaloop. Yeah.
See, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear those familial connections and ancestry that influences throughout the years, and that spirit of taking one medium to influence another.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're such a figure, in the community and the Bay Area dance ecosystem, which is constantly changing. What do you see for the future of this landscape?
Mm. Oh wow, there's I. That's a big question. But what's coming to mind right now, and what I'm loving to see, is this movement of dancers really articulating boundaries when it comes to how they work with choreographers.
Yes.
um, and really thinking about our lineages, our movement lineages, and our making lineages as, there's some things that we definitely want to continue in our lineages, and there's some things that we need to stop. And there's something, Damara Ganley, my collaborator with Joe Good Performance Group and Fog Beast, we talk about pruning. What do we need as we grow forward? What do we need to prune as far as, what's not serving us in the way we collaborate, and in like the traditional ways dance has, treated the body. So that's exciting to see, younger generations of dancers really getting clear about, and being vocal about what works in a collaborative relationship. So that's exciting. Um, and specifically in the Bay Area, I'm just loving seeing people dance on the street. I'm loving street forms and outdoor work, and you know, um, lifting up dance that comes from other places other than the traditional European classical canon. I'm just seeing all these dances being lifted up, and that's really exciting. I just hope to see more.
Yes. And to zero that question in just a little bit, what's the future for Fog Beast and for Bandaloop?
Hmm. Wow. So the near future is collaborating and thinking around climate change, collaborating with scientists, kind of continuing to create bridges between arts and sciences, and that's happening. I think using our art making processes to sort of reckon with futurism, and how we're going to create a livable world for future generations. And I will say that Bandaloop is expanding its home. So our West Oakland studio is growing, and we're really excited about that. So in the next, year or so, we are going to be having more space, and finding ways to offer that space in service of our community. So that's near future. And long-term future, I don't know. I would just leave it up to leave it up to the universe. Yeah.
So, would you tell us those dates for the upcoming show that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, that's April 15th and 16th. It's at Grand and Broadway in Oakland, uptown Oakland. And we actually will be having 2 days of shows, Friday and Saturday. The Friday show is at 8 p.m. The Saturday show, we have two shows, and we have a family matinee at 5 p.m. And we're so stoked that we have our friends, the Alphabet Rockers, opening for us. And and if any listeners don't know about the Alphabet Rockers, look them up because they're amazing. And then we have a 5 o'clock show and also an 8 o'clock show that night. Lighting designed by the amazing Jim French, and music by Ben Udvalkis and Chibuese Crouch, and other
Yay,
amazing stuff.
Chibueze!
Yeah,
Amazing person.
amazing person. So honored to work with Chibuese. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Please let the audience know where they can follow Fog Beast and Bandaloop. Drop all your
Yeah,
websites and socials.
sure. Yeah, we're fogbeast.com and at fogbeast on Instagram, and bandaloop.org and at bandalooping on Instagram. And I will also plug the Joe Good Performance Group, of course, my deep family, at joegood.org and Joe Good Performance Group on Instagram.
Thanks so much for joining us for this audio experience. For additional content that reflects our dynamic dance community, visit our In Dance article archive at dancersgroup.org.